Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chatting with Charles. Today we've got my buddy River Docs with us. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Charles. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm doing even better now that I get a chance to talk to you for a solid hour. This is going to be great.
Oh, it's going to be a blast. But just remember, it's afternoon here at my house.
Oh, my. Yeah, that's true. It did roll over, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. This is the afternoon time, but I just now start to come alive.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I absolutely love about your channel and the documentaries that you do is that I'm always learning something new about something I already thought I knew a bunch about. Right?
Well, that's it. You know, and I'm not saying that everything I post is, it's all researched information, and we're always going to have different stories and information on these musicians and their lives and career, especially as time goes on. Them stories will always change just a little bit. It's like a fish story. It starts out at 10 pounds, and by in 40 years that darn thing's 25 pounds.
Yeah.
But it don't go from 10 to 25. It goes from 10 to 12 to 13 to 15. And a lot of the musician stories are like that. Skinner's one of the biggest. There's changes all the time.
For sure. Let's go ahead and I'm going to welcome in the folks that are in the chat. We have Herb of Fireside Studios in with us, and our buddy Dennis Ellis is with us this morning. Typically, he has a band practice on Sunday mornings, but their practice got canceled this morning, and so he's here with us. There you go. And we got R2, R3 Locking Nut. We've got our music-in-law, Ryan Hall. And I know I saw my buddy Symmetry in here because he was asking if it was too early for a beer or not. And the answer is it's never too early. Never. And Wayne McConnell's here in the chat with us as well. Welcome in. And Martian Murray has stepped in the door, as well as Blackjack Guitar. Welcome in, gents. Ben Coombs is in the house. Welcome. You had a great show over with Ben not too long ago.
Yeah, we did. We had a good time. Me and old Ben, we get along pretty good. We do, and it's fun. I enjoy getting together with you guys and just talking music.
He is a really good guy, and I love this community he's kind of wrapped around himself. It's spawned off so many great things.
Yeah. Ben's a great guy. I don't care what everybody else says about him.
Welcome in, John Shane. Good morning. So, Doc, there is a customary first question here. And
customary, okay.
You've watched the show long enough to know. What I want to know is how all of our guests here in the community, how they started on their guitar journey. So how does that begin for you?
Well, I grew up, I was the youngest child in my family. I was actually one of them afterthought babies. My sister was 12 years older than me. My mom and dad was in their 40s when I was born. Mm-hmm. My mom and dad, they both loved music, and we had music playing in the house. I heard it all my life. I mean, I cannot think of a time back at my house when, we didn't have a record player going or a radio or something, and my mom was fooling around singing, or my sister was the one that introduced me to real rock and roll, as you can imagine. I'm trying to say, my other sister, my youngest sister, I call her my youngest sister, she's actually older than me, was 10 years older than me. And my mom could play a guitar and a banjo, and we always had an old guitar laying around the house. Well, I used to sit there and pick it up and didn't know what the hell I was doing with it. I just make noises on it. And one day my mom said, if you're going to play that, learn how to play some chords. I guess I was all but about, 5 or 6.
Right.
And she showed me how to play D, G, and A. I mean, my mom only knew, a handful of chords. I mean, she played all old songs. I mean, they listen to things like, you know, the songs, music I remember hearing growing up is like Buck Owens, um, Harry Belafonte. My mom was big. My mom, they loved that Latin rhythm and things like that. You know,
Right.
things. Well, I started fooling with that guitar a little bit, and I got to where I could strum a couple of chords. And I guess like so many people, and you know, when you start doing the research, even the players of today, it was the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I watched it with my sister in you know, February 1964. And I was 6 years old. And I'm sitting there watching them, and you know, my sister's sitting there cross-legged in the floor, going ape, you know, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there going, "Wow, that's pretty cool." And the song that I remember that stuck in my head was "I Want to Hold Your Hand." And the next day, I took that old guitar and I found a way to. I'm always tinkering, you know, Charles, how we are about tinkering with guitar.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I found a way to get a piece of cord and string on it and everything, and made me a strap, and I put it on there, and I'm playing "I Want to Hold Your Hand" and stuff. Although, you know, I tried to play a D, G, and A, and I didn't, you know, and that started me out playing guitar. And I probably didn't get real serious about it until about fourth grade. And my brother, who was older, and he was in the service and had actually been stationed in Wichita, Kansas. And I was from, I lived around St. Louis. That's where I was born and raised. And he was going to come home for Christmas. And he bought from a pawn shop, of course, a Tisco Del Rey electric guitar and this little amplifier that had volume, tone, and tremolo on it. And he wrapped it up and brought it home for me. And I got it on Christmas Day. It was the first electric guitar I'd ever seen or played. It had a, you know, it had the whammy bar on it, you know, and it wouldn't stay in tune. You know, it had, I think, 4 keys on the top and 2 on the bottom. It had, I think, 3 pickups. I think it's hard to remember, and buttons and stuff. And I didn't know nothing about it. I just wanted to turn on and make noise. And I learned how to play things, you know, like guitar boogies and honky tonks, and started playing some Beatles songs and stuff. That would have been around, I guess, around 1960, 66, 67, somewhere around in there. And I just kept on playing. And first band, I was in 8th grade and got together with some of the guys from school. And the first professional band that played, I call it professional, that played out for money, I was in 10th grade.
Wow.
And I played guitar. And believe it or not, the gentleman that played drums in that band, we was in school together, we're still very good friends today, and we still talk. We played in bands off and on quite a lot through our teen years and into our early 20s. And then we split. I got with the band and left and went on the road to play. And he stayed around here. You know, he had a job, and he made the right choice because he got hired on at Chrysler. So he stayed with them. And
you got that job with the retirement pension, right?
Yeah, I was working for a painter. you know, and there wasn't no future in that. But he retired from Chrysler. You know, after 31 years, I think he had in. He retired. He was 51, I think, 52 when he retired. So it worked out. But that's how I started playing music, just and listening. I love music, and I like almost any kind of music. It doesn't matter to me, really. I'm fond of classic rock and roll, and that's how it works. And just so everybody knows, I'm kind of far away from my monitor screen, and I got these are my going out glasses on, remember, so I can't really read what's going on there. So if you guys, anybody that's saying hi, I know you're all out there, and I'll say hi to you. If you got questions, Charles can relay them to me.
Definitely. Right now, there's a lot of telling stories around the same kind of stuff that you were doing, and everybody saying hello to everybody else. And so
that's fine.
So welcome in, Ryan. Welcome in. And so I'm just I'm throwing up comments so that
sure you do that.
but no hardcore questions yet. So we're good there.
That's
But
good.
so you were a gigging musician for a long time, weren't you?
Yeah, I did. I played up until around 19. I played full time up until around 1990. I started backing away and not traveling anymore in the late 80s. I By 1992 it went from a full-time playing to a part-time playing. And I was I was doing something, like I said, you see nowadays all the time, but back then it was all new and different. I had an old Kurzweil keyboard, and I had a 16-track sequencer that MIDI'd into it, and I made up music tracks, and me and two other guys that we'd played together for years started just playing guitars and percussions and stuff around this music and singing to it. And we started doing that around 1989, I guess, and we was playing mostly hotels and doing material like that, and singing. We had three vocalists in the group, and all three of us knew how to sing harmony too. So we did a lot of old doo-wop songs and things like just a wide variety of music. But I finally backed off and came back home and took a job and started just playing on weekends, or I do like they'd have open jam sessions and whatever. Like on a Wednesday night, I'd get with the band and be the house band for the jam session, and I'd play on weekends. But I didn't have to. I could take the weekends off, and me and the wife could go and do some things again. That was probably around the last time I ever played a New Year's Eve too. And after that, I didn't play them no more. I didn't want to get out and fight the traffic or just go out. Me and the wife would go out or do something, but that was it.
All right. Well, you have this fantastic YouTube channel where you do all these documentaries, and I love that you don't do the whole band, right? You break it up into the individuals and you cover each person, and I think it gives you a really balanced idea of what's going on when you look at once you work your way through the whole band. It's really kind of cool,
right?
So how did all that get started?
That got started. It was well, as you can see, I always like to talk. It's hard to shut me up. When we was on the road, I was always a storyteller. I'd sit there after the gig, with the guys. We'd sit around, be drinking beer or whatever, and telling road stories, we called it. And naturally, a lot of it was about music and bands and this, that, and the other. And when I retired, I moved to Florida, and I've been on the internet since Windows 95 was new, and I've had a YouTube channel since 2000, and I've had 2 or 3 of them actually since around 2010. So it wasn't that I wasn't familiar with YouTube, but I didn't. My channel was just I uploaded goofy stuff on there, like I used to make this really weird homemade wine. That's a lot of people still knows me as the wine guy. I used to take when I was a kid, I had a friend. He was an old Vietnam vet. Well, he wasn't old, but he was old to me back then.
Right.
And,
yeah.
He used to go down to the grocery store and buy him them bottles of Welch's grape juice, and he'd dump a cup of sugar in them and dump a pack of baker's yeast in it, and screw the lid on them, back it off a little so it wouldn't blow up, and let it sit for 2 weeks and sit there and drink it and get hammered. Well, I put a video on and showed people how to do that on YouTube. Man, they just thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread, Stuff make you sick as a dog. But anyway, I had the YouTube channels going, and when I retired and came down here to Florida about 7 years ago, I decided I was going to go back to just playing acoustic solos and use it as a supplement to go along with my retirement. And, I wasn't 62 at the time, so I didn't even have Social Security or nothing. Well, I got down here and started doing it, and everything was fine. I was having a good time. And the pandemic hit, and the money went downhill at the bars to play, and I wasn't gonna get out and do it for that. And I said, man, I need to find me something else to do. And a buddy of mine told me, he said, man, you ought to start, make one of them YouTube channels and start talking about music and stuff. And I said, yeah, that'd be kind of fun. I said, I just don't want to get out and do lives. Like, like I don't mind doing them like with you and Ben and stuff, but I don't want to sit there and talk live all the time. So I ran into a couple of channels on YouTube that was doing documentaries, and just putting up pictures and doing the research and talking. And I messed around. I did a couple videos and sit there and looked at them myself, and I go, who's going to want to listen to this slow talking hick? Because I talk like where I came from. I don't change my voice. I had to be me.
Well, see, that is the funny thing, because it's one of the things I like the most about your channel. I think it's the perfect voice for it, right? And it's something that it gets my attention. It keeps my attention.
Correct. Well, okay, and it does. Well, see, I didn't know that though. I sounded like Waylon Jennings, on Dukes of Hazzard when he narrated Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
But there's a niche for everything on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And
Ben wants you to know he happens to like slow talking hicks. So
you like slow talking hicks? Well, buddy, I'll tell you, I've actually cut back on my accent since I left the hills of Missouri where I was born and raised. But no, I do. I talk slow. Whether I ramble a lot, but I do try when I'm doing it. I'm trying to, so people can listen and understand what I'm saying. You get a lot of them on there that are just trying to keep people's attention to get to that second advertisement. They just want to keep the excitement going. And I just want to talk about the players, and what I know about them and what I research about them. And I want to hear what everybody else says. So, anyway, I got a few videos, and one of the big things that was going on at the time was Dusty Hill had passed away from ZZ Top. Mm-hmm. And Elwood Francis, the guitar tech, I had known who he was because, like I said, I lived on YouTube watching YouTube videos and this, that, and the other thing. Well, everybody was asking, well, who's Elwood Francis? Where did he come from? Well, I said, I know where he come from. And that was one of the first videos I put together. I said, this isn't very good. I had a crummy microphone and everything. And I put that video on there, and people started watching it, and they started watching it. And then I did one on Ruby Starr, I think, at that time, and Ray Sawyer from Dr. Hook. I was doing off the wall. I wasn't doing Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton and all this. Right. Everybody did them. And it just started working. And the channel, I had that one so long that it was already monetized. I didn't have to go through the 1,000 subscribers or everything. And I think it already had like 2,000 subscribers on it after 10 years, people watching it. And it started making a few dollars, and I thought, well, you know what, maybe I could just do this, and then I don't have to get back out there. I'm getting old. I don't want to get out there. I'm tired of playing. I still enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to have to do it for extra money and everything.
Right. Well, Ben says that the Elwood video was how he found you.
I wouldn't surprise. That video is probably it's probably got 800,000 views on it now after a couple of years. It's a very watched video. I don't know. You talk about cover photos, tag them, all this and how to do this to get videos to get up in the algorithm. I didn't know squat about that. I just put a cover photo, made one up, just kind of like you do, Charles, for this right here. I just made a cover photo and wrote what I wanted, Elwood Francis and this, that, and the other. And people just started watching it. And then what happened? Google, it started going good. Google picks up on quite a few of my videos, And if you just go to Google and do a Google search like on Elwood Francis, and it'll show you the list out, and it'll come down. There'll be some video. My video almost always pops up in that. And it does a lot of my higher end videos like Randy Meisner. Randy Meisner's close to 1 million views now. You'll find them on YouTube or on Google searches a lot, not just YouTube searches. And that helps too when you get in with them, when they cross them into that.
Well, welcome in, Terry. Terry 3Gs is in with us. He's going to be actually the guest chatting with Charles next week. So,
there you go.
Yeah, and Ryan is saying Elwood was the first one he saw of yours as well.
Well, it was, but a lot of you guys have been following this channel for over. This channel's only been going for 2 years actually. I started it. I think the first video was put out in January 22nd of 2022. So yeah, it's been going 2 years now. So a lot of the people, you guys a lot of you guys have been following me for over a year, and things like that. Through good and bad. That's why I know, because I actually try to stay in with on the comment section and everything. I try to talk to people, or at least acknowledge that you guys are commenting on my videos, and I appreciate it, because I do like to read. I like to hear other people's stories too. I mean, they're just as much fun to me to read them. And that's why I know how YouTube operates and stuff, because I'll put a video out and it won't do real well. I'm sitting there going, I thought it was a pretty good video. And then all of a sudden, I didn't know you had that video out. And these are people that's followed my channel for a year. Yeah. YouTube's not the algorithm. It's the way it works. It's life. It's YouTube.
And it's one of those things where, I used to kind of worry about that stuff, but I always have kind of looked like at my channel as I'm putting up some videos from me and my friends. And if other people join in, even better.
Right.
But in looking, in looking at, all the documentaries that you've done, what is the most viewed documentary that you have done?
That I have done? Right now, I think it's Randy Meisner. And that, sadly, that video had a little help. I put it out, and it had just been out a few months, and then Randy Meisner had passed away, and it picked up quite a few views, and I picked up quite a few subscribers from that, because I had other videos on Don Felder and Bernie Ledden on there, and people like to follow. If somebody likes Randy Meisner, they like the Eagles, right? And I've got, like I said, I think I had a video of Joe Walsh, and it all worked in together. It's kind of like I do with Leonard Skinner. If you look up one Skinner video, like a Gary Rossington on my channel, it'll also show you videos on Steve Gaines and Alan Collins and Ed King. And I don't do, like you said, I don't do the whole band. I try to go to individual people, although I do try to keep the band aspect in there with them. I've got a video now out on Mark Farner, and I'm getting ready. I'm going to do another one on him, a little bit more about the band and the band situation. And I don't do this because I think it's going to trend or anything. I do it just because I felt it. Bruce Kulick, who has played guitar for Grand Funk for 23 years now, after they split and everything. I read an article, where he retired this year after 23 years with Grand Funk. And them guys have been making a lot of money on that name of Grand Funk Railroad, so many people, they get upset and butthurt about everything, but you know what? Business is business, and it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, buddy.
For sure.
I don't care. And, them brands, them band names are worth a lot of money when it comes to publicity and booking. Well, Mark lost the band name, same as John Fogerty. And the guys that took it over, like I said, they're two of the prime examples. And I feel so bad because if there hadn't have been a John Fogerty, there would never have been a Creedence Clearwater. I'm sorry, you can argue it all you want, but it wouldn't have happened. And if there hadn't have been a Mark Farner, there never, ever would have been a Grand Funk Railroad. You know, it wouldn't have happened.
For sure. And I can see that with Fogerty. There's no doubt that he wasn't the heart and soul of all that.
Oh, yeah. There's no, the songwriter, he was the front man, the singer. And in the very beginning, he played guitar and keyboards both. They didn't have Craig Frost at the time. Mm-hmm. So it isn't so bad. Okay, fine. They have the name, and I understand that that's business. You know, they got screwed by Terry Knight, and then they got screwed. Mark got screwed. Not screwed. He just didn't handle the business real well and lost the name to Mel and Don.
Well, let's face it. Most musicians are not good business people, right?
No, they're not. Like I said, where the mistake is made, and even in today's world, even baseball players, everybody's got an agent, somebody to think for them in the business. Don and Mel, after Mark had quit and went solo, they got back together. Then they started having problems. They got somebody that was familiarized with business working on their side. And I don't think Mark's lawyer picked up on it. And when he lost out on that band name, he lost out on a lot. Here's the thing I can't get a hold of, though. Them three guys, you know, Grand Funk Railroad was probably, I mean, they was in 1969, they sold everything out. I mean, they was selling out stadiums. They was a very big draw, a live attraction, a great three-piece band. Okay, Don and Mel, you got the name. Okay, you got the name. That's fine. Mark can go on and do his thing because he can still, believe it or not, he can still sound like Grand Funk Railroad with another bass player and a drummer. They can't sound like Grand Funk Railroad without the guitar and the vocalist and the guy that wrote 95% of that, the music and songs. But they've been working for over 25 years now, using that name. And just because it's legal, Mark don't get no money from it at all whatsoever, from the band name, because he don't own it. And I understand that's business. But you know what? Them three guys came up together. They know what they went through, and they have to know in their heart. When you're in a band, you know, especially a three-piece band, and I hate to say this, but people have, especially musicians, they have a lot of trouble with reality. Mm-hmm. You can take a three-piece band, and if the other two guys aren't the main singers, especially a bass player and drummer, they can be replaced really easy. Not real easy, but they can be replaced, and you can go on by. Try to replace that front man. Whole different story. You know, it holds true even with ZZ Top.
Yeah.
If Billy Gibbons had a past before Dusty Hill, tell me ZZ Top would be still going now. It wouldn't happen. Right. It's so hard, and it's hard for musicians to wrap around that because they say this, that, and the other. Even the sound can get by because Grand Funk Railroad can go out right now, and they're selling their Grand Funk Railroad, and there's people that thinks they're Grand Funk Railroad and thinks they are sounding like Grand Funk Railroad. Max Carl sounds nothing like Mark Farner singing, nothing whatsoever. I can tell the difference, but most people, fans, don't do that. Well, musicians need to understand, yeah, we can tell the difference in bass players and drummers, you know, to an extent, but a drummer, I hate to say it, guys, don't jump me, but drums and a bass are pretty easy to replace. It's one string and it's a percussion and it's your rhythm section. But when you got the guy that's singing the lead vocals, and then you got the guy, when the lead vocals are gone, what takes over? The lead instrument takes over to fill in with the lead vocal, and he's doing that too. You've lost the whole icing on your cake. All you got is a cake, a plain old cake sitting there. And that had happened with Grand Funk. And that's why I was really, really upset about Grand Funk not at least trying to get back are letting Mark and them play because it happened to Fogerty too.
Right.
You know, they could have went back and played three pieces even after John's brother passed away.
Yeah.
They could have went back and still played because they did play. Remember, if you remember correctly, Tom Fogerty quit the year before Creedence Clearwater broke up, and they did go out three pieces and play. And Stu and Doug, they took the band name and went out and put another Creedence together, and they went out and toured and played and made money, and it pretty much didn't really sound like it, but live in the moment it sold tickets because it was Creedence Clearwater. And my sister and I talk about that. My sister's a big fan of Creedence Clearwater, and she went and heard them, and she said, oh, they sounded great. She did not know the difference of the singer they had in John Fogerty, you know, between them two, you know, because they was up there. They had two other players, Doug and Stu did. And to her, what she was doing, she was hearing the songs of her past,
Right.
you know, and the guy could scream. He could get up there, and he could at least sing in John Fogerty's keys. I will say that when she went, the one that she went and seen. But to her, she didn't know the difference between John Fogerty and John Doe. So that's why them names are worth a lot of money, you know, because a lot of people think that. But to me, I just felt Mark Farner always got a raw deal out of that. I thought them guys, with what they'd been through, they would have had some compassion. You know, business is business and friendship is friendship. But come on, man.
Well, you know, and that always kind of reminds me of that question is, when is the band no longer the band, right?
Oh, that's a hard one. Bands change. I understand bands change. And when you got a band going, you know, I mean, I've been in bands and had people quit. We hired somebody else and went on and kept making money. That's what you do. It's a job. You know, and we have to understand, no matter how much we're fans of these bands and idolize some of these players and stuff, it's still a job to them. That is where their income comes from, all their music and songwriting and everything. And nowadays, you know, live performance is high dollar because with Spotify and things like that, they don't make as much money on their royalties. So that's why ticket prices are so high. These guys are making a lot of money. You know, I think Grand Funk, they're bringing in, last I looked, they say they're around $50,000 a show. Well, you know, you got five guys and they travel light. They're making some good money, even just playing weekends, if you think about it. So I don't know, but when is it a band? You know, look at Skinner. They ran forever and they're still playing under Leonard Skinner. But why they're doing that is, and this is, I'm pretty sure this is the facts and the truth about it. I'm not saying I'm right, but that Leonard Skinner name is owned by a few people, and not just the band. You know, Gary Rossington owned it. So now Gary Rossington's family owned it, and Gary Rossington told him before he died, I want you guys to keep going. Why? Because Gary Rossington's family makes money from that band name when they perform. You know, Judy, Ronnie Van Zant's wife, she still owns part of that name. Every time they perform, she gets money from it. That's, and do they deserve the money? Yes, they do. You know, they deserve a retirement too, just because it was musicians. Their families need to be taken care of. And I understand it. But as far as saying, you know, that Ricky Medlock and Johnny Van Zant are Leonard Skinner, they're not. But these guys, they're a good tribute group. And I totally agree with it, you know. And I know why they keep the name. They could change it. And they talked about it. They said we could make it, you know, Leonard Skinner Review, Leonard Skinner 2, whatever. But if they did that, then it would cut out what to do with, you know, the Leonard Skinner name is copywritten. What's the word? And Gary, you know, made it known that he wanted his family to keep getting money from this name because they created that. You know, they created Leonard Skinner, just like Mark Donamel created Grand Funk. John Fogerty, Stu, Tom, and Doug created Creedence Clearwater, but somebody, business took over, and a few of them got booted away from the name, but the name's still worth money.
Yeah, and the one thing I kind of look at it, and when I try to figure that out for myself, is, are they still writing new music, right? Or are they just a cover band of themselves?
Even if they wrote new music, it wouldn't do any good. They're making money from them old covers. Is what they're making money from. Nostalgia. Just like I make my YouTube videos. It's nostalgia. People want to live with that music they grew up with and they love so much.
Yeah, and they get tired of that, right? Because it's like, the fans want to hear the standards, right? They want to hear the songs you're famous for.
Sure.
It's why when the greatest hits albums come out, we all line up to buy them.
Mm-hmm. And there's a reason they put them out, because they make money. They know they can repackage them. And I always bought greatest hits albums. I liked albums myself, but the greatest hits was what you want to hear. Even as a musician, I still when I hear Skinner, sure, I love a lot of their off the wall stuff, Needle in the Spoon, and things like that. But I would, I want to hear Freebird too, and I want to hear Sweet Home Alabama. Not that I actually want to play them anymore, because it's like coming out my ears. And that's what I understand about the players up there. It's tough on them, because they're still playing songs. They want to do new material, and they can't. They can work a song or two in, write a song or two, but it's not going to sell, and the crowd's not there to hear their new material anymore, sadly.
For sure.
Maybe 2% of the crowd, but the majority, 98% of the people that go to hear these old rock and roll bands want to hear their hits. And that's what it's all about. It's the music business part of it. And that's tough. That's why a lot of guys like Rory Gallagher and Leslie West and some of them guys didn't make it that big. Even Robin Trower, they kept doing newer music, even though the radio stations wouldn't play it and it wasn't radio friendly. They did what they wanted to do. And that's great,
So when you sit down and you're figuring out, okay, well, I need to put out another documentary. Right. So what is your process for figuring out who you're going to do, and how do you gather up your information? What's your process as you begin to put these together?
Okay. Sometimes, like when I could do a documentary on Clapton or Jimmy Page, and I'm not, without second thought, people is going to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
I in time, I'll probably do my own little thing, with them. But I try to go with people like a Leslie West. There's a lot of guitar players that's, and people that's made comments on it. They never knew who Leslie West was. They never heard of Mountain. I'm sitting here going, well, don't be so shocked. There's a lot of places, somebody will tell me the name of a band, and I'm real familiar with music. I've listened to music all my life, and I'll sit there and go, boy, I'll have to go look them up and listen. I'll go, wow, that is really good. And I went right on past me in the 70s, how did I miss it? Tommy Bolin. Yeah, there's great ones. How I go about it, a lot of times, if you follow my community board, I'll put a survey up there. I'll just put, I put some guitar players up there one time. I said, which one of these, I don't want to know who's the best. Who's your favorite? Mm-hmm. Alvin Lee, Leslie West, Frank Marino. And it just so happened once it was done and 500 or 600 people went in and voted and everything, it came out Alvin Lee, Leslie West, and Frank Marino by votes. Right. And that's the way them three videos came out, in what order they came out in, with other videos in between. I have to get the information that I usually try to take my information if I can find interviews with the subject I'm working with, this way I'm getting it from the horse's mouth, what they had to say about it. And as we talked about, stories change through the years. They do. Trying to do some of them are very complicated because there's not a lot of photos out there to use. And there's not a lot of quality photos, especially from these people, especially in their earlier years. Trying to find earlier pictures so you can talk a little bit about their early life, going to school, playing guitar, and there's nothing there. And then you got to find photos. Any photo can be used in a documentary if you're talking about somebody, but it's a fine line to walk because anybody can put a copyright strike on videos, as me and you have talked about, Charles.
Oh, yeah.
And can you get it back? Yes, you can. Do I want to spend the money on a lawyer and have them make the person go to court and try to prove it? Nah, you know what? I just let them go. It don't matter to me. I got way too many people sometimes, but I have to watch what photos or video clips and how I use them, because I'll get people come on there and complain, well, this was a crummy video. You didn't play any of their music. I'm going, music is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, music will get you flagged and copyright strikes quickly. What was it? Well, Ricky Nelson was pigeonholed.
Oh, here, let me put that back up for you.
Yeah, I was just reading that. Yeah, well, there's lots of, look at it this way. Steve Marriott started out as a teen idol movie star, but all he wanted to do was be a rock and roll player, and he did not want to be the front man. Him and Peter Frampton with Humble Pie, both of them got together and put that band together because neither one of them wanted to be the front man, the face of the group. And they both ended up being in their own way. They couldn't help it, There's a lot of things like that. But putting videos together is complicated. Sometimes it's time consuming, especially when you get videos that run over 12, 14 minutes, and I go with the information, the way I put mine together. I'll have what I want to say, not scripted, so to speak, but it's wrote out so I know what I want to get into and say. And that's what I'll record first. That's what I start with, is my voice and the information. And once I get that, I'll put that down and find some YouTube music that I can use and put that behind it. And then I'll just take and add pictures or video clips to help tell the story. And that's the way it's put together.
In earlier, when you were talking about how you would grab the interviews and how stories change over time, that's one of the really cool things about your documentaries, because you'll tell how they told that story at this point and how they told the story.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, people have a hard time understanding that. Like especially with Leonard Skinner. Gary Rossington has told so many tales. I mean, I'd love to have sat down with that man and talked for a night, because he could have probably spun some tales you wouldn't believe, and the next day not even remember what he said. They do that. Like I told you, I toured and played out early in my life, and we told stories all the time, and them stories change from month to month. When you start telling the same story over, depending on what you drank or smoked.
Well, you get to that point where that's the only story you have to tell right now, and so you can't help but to embellish it until the next one comes along.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people, want to do that. They just don't understand that just because you hear something, whether you're watching one of my videos, you're watching somebody else's videos, whether you're reading a book, them stories are going to have fluctuation to them. You'll find out too that to get good information from a book, try to find one that was written like as with the Ghost Rider or something, and was written early in life, not one that they wrote 25 or 30 years from now, because I know how my memory is right now. If I had to go back and write a book when I was 20 years old, I wouldn't remember half of it, and the rest of it I just make up to give them a story. And that's what these people do.
But things get fuzzy, things get fuzzy, and you can't remember whether this happened first or that happened first, and and
but I can tell you, in the comments section, everybody wants to let you know that you're wrong.
Of course.
They don't take into consideration, just because you heard this story and you heard it this way, that it's been heard so many different ways. But some people, my way's the right way and everybody else is wrong. Well, all right, that's fine, and you're more than welcome to say your piece, but good Lord, open your mind up and realize what them guys was like on, when they was playing music back then. The Beatles, them guys was tripping on acid and doing all kinds of stuff, and then they're giving interviews and stuff. It's just I'm glad y'all like the videos. I see the comments coming up there, guys, and I appreciate it. I'm glad you watch. I got some more videos coming out. I just gotta, believe it or not, I've had some back problems, and I'm having trouble just even sitting here today. And I got my son's coming in tomorrow, and we got some things to do. I haven't got a video out in 2 weeks, but they'll come back. I'll get them started again. So just hang tight.
Well, with that being said, what documentary have you done that you are most proud of?
That I'm most proud of?
Yes, sir.
Shoot. You know what? Usually once I put them up, I don't ever watch them again. I just go through them and I don't even listen to them. The ones I enjoyed putting together the most, the one I really enjoyed putting together was Roy Buchanan. Just because I feel like I wanted to introduce him to people that's never heard of Roy Buchanan, and sadly, there's a lot of people that never has heard him play or anything. Wouldn't know his name to even search for him. I enjoyed putting that one together. I enjoyed putting the Linda Ronstadt video together. Linda she was just so cool. Her interviews and everything. I mean, yeah, I'd like to sit down and drink some tequila with her too. She was one of them gals that spoke her mind, and I like that. But Roy Buchanan, I don't know. God, I've got over 100 videos out there now. Boy, I don't know. It's hard to pick. I don't really have a favorite. I'd have to say, as of right now, the latest videos I put out is Roy Buchanan, and probably the earlier videos was. I enjoyed doing the research on Ray Sawyer from Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show. I really enjoyed doing the research for that one. And probably, like I said, Randy Meisner. He was always my favorite vocalist in a way out of the Eagles. So Randy Meisner and a lot of the Eagles I enjoyed. Bernie Ledden, Don Felder was another good one. I'd read his books and the book he had out, and his playing. He's a very underrated guitar player. And just be able to stand on stage next to a Joe Walsh and hold your own. There's very few guys that can really do that, and Felder did it with ease. And Joe Walsh is another one. His inside story, many people don't know about his daughter's death and how that affected him. And the only way I guess anyone can understand, I have kids. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us have children here, and to lose your little girl like he did, he don't go on and talk about it, but deep seated down there was issues there, and a lot of the drinking problems, and Joe was a problem when he drank. He could drink a lot, and drugs. So that'd be it. Them are my favorites, I guess.
So is there a documentary that you've been chomping at the bit to do that you just haven't gotten to yet, or you haven't found the right material for?
Yes, there is. And it's been on the burners for 6 months, and I can't find a way to get this out. And it's Greg Allman. Listening, Greg Allman was one of them vocalists. He was like a Ray Charles. He didn't have a fancy voice, but he could sing the blues. You know, I mean, he made you feel the words. He wasn't a great keyboard player, and he wasn't just a rhythm guitar player. But he made that Allman Brothers band when they put it together. And I've wanted to do a video on him. I've done one on Dwayne. Dwayne's was fairly easy to do. But to get farther into Greg's life, it's hard to do it. I try to do them with class, not class, but I don't want to sit there and dig up a bunch of bones on these guys. You know,
Right.
they've already had their names smeared enough. You know, I want to find the good parts. And trying to get Greg in a good light. Even when he wrote his own book, he put himself in a bad light. You know, the guy was a severe alcoholic. Like Greg's son, Michael, he just lives down the street from me. And he sings and stuff. And I always look at this when I'm doing these videos, you know, these people that I'm talking about, they have children and family and stuff out there, you know, and I don't want to do that. I just want people to learn about them. I want people to learn to really sit down. Next time you hear the Allman Brothers, you know, doing whip and post or you know, even listen to Greg Allman just when he sings Sweet Home Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to his voice. He was one of them, kind of like, you talk about a guitar player who can take 4 notes and make you feel it. Greg was the kind of singer that could just sing 4 notes through the whole song and make you feel it. He didn't have to have a big fancy range or nothing. You felt it's like he was just talking and singing. But when you go into Greg, you have to go in to his life. I mean, I think the guy was married 7 times. Okay. Or no, did he had 7 kids and was married 5 times? Hell, I don't know. I mean, and he did. He had it rough. You know, he lost his dad at 2 years old, and he lost his brother, the only one, you know, he lost him at 20. He was 21, I think, when Dwayne passed away, or 20. I don't remember. And it hurt him. It scarred him and everything. You know, that you got to have that something. Growing up about kids, his mom sent him off to military school after their dad was murdered. Their dad was murdered, actually. He was murdered over some walked out into a field and shot. Some guy hijacked their car. He had given him a ride. But anyway, Greg was only 2 years old at the time. Well, the mother figured she had to do something because she had to support she had 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
So she put him, the father was in the military, so she put him in military school. And then she went to work back to school to learn to be a CPA, plus working during the day and all this kind of stuff. Greg always felt, like he said all of his life, that his mother did that because she hated him. He said it took him forever to realize it. And it took him too long to realize it because his mind was really eat up with alcohol and drug abuse. You know, right. I mean, you know, we're talking heavy duty amounts, you know, of alcohol and heroin and cocaine. And it tends to make you not think right. And I don't want to hash that out. Greg put it out in his book. Everybody can read it. And if you want, I believe his book, the audio book of it, and it's him talking too. He does the dialogue. It's on the internet. You can go listen to him.
Well, you know, this is, I know you're feeling your back, and
I need Percocet, not ibuprofen. And that's hard to get from doctors down here.
And so, I could go on forever, and we could do 9 parts to this whole series. But I'm
Mhm.
watching you wince, and I'm thinking maybe we should call it here so you can get up and stretch and move
If
around.
I
'Cause
get,
I
I
know
tell
you
you
got a
what,
lunch date.
I do. See, look. See, I'm in shorts, and I got my little Beach Boy shirt on, and I'm going to walk out of here, and I got seat heaters in my car, even though I don't need them. It's 75, 80 degrees here today. I can turn them on and get myself down. They got me a place at the little beach bar down there where I stand, and I'll go down and have me a couple of beers and some dinner and stuff like that. But if you ever want to talk again, Charles, all you gotta do is holler at me. I can put off. Usually, I'm down at the bar at noon, but you know what? I can I can be there by 1:30 and still have a good time because my wife, she's already down there probably.
You gotta love that. Well,
Uh,
I want to thank you for being on. It has been a joy for me,
I enjoyed it.
and we will definitely have to do it again. I
Sure.
want to thank everyone for being here in the chat. And if for some strange reason you have never checked out Doc's channel, please go ahead and do so because you're missing out if you haven't been there. And
Yep.
Music Therapy Lass is coming up next. He's got his show getting ready to start. I know Ryan and the OU812 crew are getting ready to go later on today. And Ben has RJ Ronquillo on his show tonight. And so it may be Super Bowl Sunday, but a lot of us don't really care either way. So there is still plenty to do on YouTube today.
No Super Bowl. I don't watch football much anymore, just baseball.
I don't either, and it's really funny. This I would much rather be with this community now, and doing what we're doing and having a good time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Charles, I did. Honest to goodness, I had a really good time. My back's barking at me a little bit, but you know what? I I don't. If I don't think about it, it don't hurt when I'm sitting here talking music. That's kind of therapy in itself. Think about it. Music is therapy for all of us.
For sure. Well, thank you so much again. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play our theme song out. Go ahead and hang in for a bit, and
Sure.
we'll say our goodbyes off air, and
Yep.
we'll go from there.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for
All right,
coming
have a
by.
good weekend, everybody. Let's see.